Stories, New York Times columnist Michelle Goldberg. Her new piece is titled, quote, "Boys Will Be Supreme Court Justices." And she says, based on her review, this accuser looks credible, but will it matter? I wonder, just big picture, how you feel and what you've concluded about whether there is improvement and what is still being done wrong as we look to adjudicate in public a difficult thing, the weight of this accusation and the facts against this, whether he should be promoted.
Well, I think there's certainly improvement. First of all, that there seems to be a broad consensus that these charges should be taken seriously and should be aired. A lot of the pushback in the right-wing media to Christine Blasey Ford coming forward has almost sort of assumed that what she was saying is probably correct, but basically said it hasn't been a big deal. So you see a lot of people saying, well, is it really fair to judge somebody for what they did in high school? You know, Ari Fleischer, a former George W. Bush press secretary, talking on Fox News about how, you know, can just like one little incident in high school really derail your opportunity to ascend to a Supreme Court seat or the presidency later in life, which is, you know, kind of rich coming from a party that has shown very, very little concern for juvenile offenders and whether they're ever able to expunge their record and kind of go on to redeem themselves and live productive lives. I mean, I think it's important to remember that the president called for the death penalty for 5 accused rapists, the Central Park 5, who were since proven innocent by DNA, but who were, you know, 14, 14, 15, 15, and 16. Now, all of a sudden, you know, the same sort of group of people is saying, well, come on, you can't really hold what somebody did at 17 against them. But the fact that I think you have a number of senators out there saying that if this is proven true, that would be disqualifying, it's progress of a sort, right? There might be a cynical interpretation, which is that there's no proving either way in a case like this. But I think that it's good that there is, at least on some level, a consensus that if he did this, it's serious.
Right. Well, and I'd like for you to peel back some of the double talk we're seeing as well, because this, like the hearings, can be an inflection point. There is the possibility of learning, or what I might call learning under pressure. And so Senator Graham, who knows better, is saying things that regular people, random people might think sound suspicious, but are not, that you and I know are not, that he knows are not. For example, that Ms. Ford had a lawyer and a polygraph to try to improve her credibility. Now, Lindsey Graham was a military JAG lawyer, and he knows there is nothing wrong. Indeed, it is illegal and unconstitutional to hold it against someone that they retain a lawyer. And yet he says this. Take a look.
I don't know when she took the polygraph. I don't know who paid for it. I don't know when she hired a lawyer, and I don't know who paid for it. But if you didn't want to go public, why are you buying a polygraph and why are you hiring a lawyer? All those things will come out.
Of course, you're hiring a lawyer if you're getting anywhere near the hot zone that Anita Hill got to, and that doesn't speak to your veracity. Everyone has the right to lawyers, period. So I wonder if you could walk us through some of the senators who seem to be trying to have it both ways.
I mean, look, I think, you know, Lindsey Graham is a weasel, right? He's trying to insinuate that her kind of elementary steps she took to defend against the onslaught that is now being directed at her in some way justifies this onslaught. And, I mean, I don't think for a minute that the vast majority of Republicans in the Senate kind of really care one way or the other whether these charges are true. For them, the question is, will they still be able to vote for Kavanaugh without political repercussions when this whole circus is concluded? And they're trying to orchestrate it in a way that will let them do that.
Right. I also want to ask you about an attack ad I mentioned earlier in the show that's quite hard-hitting. It's not to present any kind of moral equivalence, because indeed viewers will recognize many of the claims of this ad have been highly supported, like the many investigations that showed Roy Moore credibly accused of preying on girls. Having said that, there is this type of attack coming out now. So take a look at this, a new ad against Judge Kavanaugh.